Good evening, everyone. Good evening, ma'am. I am Rose Peralta, and I am the second reporter for tonight. So, for the continuation of the report, I will discuss the needs for materials evaluation and the purpose of materials evaluation. A while ago, Mr. Morales defined material evaluation as a procedure that involves measuring the value or the potential value of a set of learning materials on learners in relation to their objectives. According to Tomlinson in 2012, materials evaluation is linked to the intended teaching and learning context of course book and is inevitably subjective and focuses on the users of materials. So in other words, materials evaluation means a principled process of providing useful information about the target materials in order to select or develop them in a reliable and valid approach. So materials evaluation can take place pre-use and be predictive, where the teacher predicts the success of the course book in a particular context with specific learners, or post-use and be retrospective, where the teacher attempts to assess the actual success of the course book, separating it from other variables on his or her learners. So, why do we evaluate materials? To answer this, we need to identify the popular and successful features of existing materials, which will help us to produce better materials, to choose suitable materials for language programs, or to adapt the materials to make them better suit the needs of the students and the needs of teaching. Let's see the needs for material evaluation. So number one, too many materials available in the market. All claim to be the best in the field, and the only way to verify the claim is to evaluate them. We evaluate those in field to know who is actually or what is the best. Because when we evaluate, we get to compare the strengths and weaknesses of each material. So there are numerous materials that can be utilized in language instruction. Nevertheless, it is important to assess these materials to see whether they are appropriate and suitable for language learners. So there are lots of different materials available in the market, but some are not appropriate for language teaching. Basically, all the materials like textbook being used in language teaching are being evaluated before distributing them. Number two, an educated or informed choice need to be made for the benefit of all parties. So teachers must make informed decision in choosing materials to ensure that it serves the purpose of enhancing the learning experience. Teachers must make well-informed decision when selecting materials and measure the potential of what teachers and learners can do with them in the classroom to ensure that they enhance the learning experience of the target learners. So when adopting and selecting a material, they must be appropriate and tailored to the needs of the students as well as the needs of teachers. Teachers will select and evaluate textbook according to how appropriate they seem for the given context. Number three, learners are more sophisticated and knowledgeable. The materials given to them must meet their expectations and suit their level. So rather than teaching isolated concepts, build upon prior knowledge when possible. We evaluate the materials that we have already chosen or that have been chosen for us so that we can adapt the materials in order to make them better suit the needs of the students and of course the needs of teaching. It is important to choose suitable materials for language programs. So materials should be applicable or suited on the learner's level of thinking in different subject areas, but specifically to the language they are using. It is necessary that the chosen and evaluated materials for language program are fitted in developing their language skills. Number 4, ensure only high standard of materials or books are used. So only choose materials of high quality so that it helps in achieving high standard of teaching and learning. The chosen material should be high quality or standard in order to support and help students in gaining a high standard of learning as well. The quality of materials will be a great help in developing and reaching the student's knowledge in a particular subject area. So, of course, when we use high standard materials, the learning will also follow. It can give high standards of learning to the learners. Let's move on to the purpose of materials evaluation. Mukundan 2004-2009 argues that there are two purposes for evaluation. The first purpose is to select the course book, and the other purpose is to determine the effectiveness of the course books while they are used. However, Tomlinson and Masuhara 2004 indicate that the ultimate purpose of evaluation is for the development of material. Identifying the potential strengths and weaknesses of the materials for selection or development purposes is useful. So let us see the purpose of the materials evaluation. The first one is to adopt new textbook. Before decision can be made of which book to be used, a number of potential books need to be evaluated. Most teachers are not creators of teaching materials, but providers of good materials. For that reason, teachers may conduct materials adaptation in order to provide good materials. So any basic or secondary school classroom requires textbooks. Schools that revise their textbooks on a regular basis can provide their students with the most up-to-date knowledge. Factors like the topic matter and format of the textbook impact how often they should be replaced. Therefore, teachers in inclusive classrooms must adapt textbooks so that students with different reading and comprehension levels can understand classroom content. That is, when class materials, topic, and delivery are adjusted, students with a variety of learning strengths and needs benefit. Next, to identify strengths and weaknesses in books already in use. Before decision to replace it being made, evaluation needs to be conducted. Some strength of textbooks are they can provide support for teachers, they can maintain quality, and they provide a variety of learning resources and comprehensive teaching guides which give a rich and valid resources for teachers and learners. However, some textbooks may old or outdated and they may not reflect students' needs. In one of the studies, one found that employees feel more confident, self-aware, and productive when focusing on strengths and weaknesses. Just like in materials evaluation, teachers should be flexible to know all kinds of teaching materials by knowing the strengths and weaknesses. When we evaluate, we can see if the materials are effective so that when they are teaching, they can help learners so that they can enhance their weaknesses and turns it to their strength. Next is to compare. When there is more than a book that needs to be considered to be selected, and when existing materials are challenged by newly produced materials. So materials evaluation is needed when there are various books being produced and developed in order to find out which material is more suitable and greater for the needs of learners. Also, it compares the previous and newly produced materials to know which one will be the more beneficial for students. We need to compare different materials to look for a good quality of different textbooks. Number 4, to help teacher to gain good insights into the nature of the materials. Materials evaluation is helpful for teachers in properly teaching their lessons since it allows them to better understand and appreciate the concepts, contents, and subject matter. So teachers gain a good understanding on materials such as textbooks and syllabus through material evaluation. Through this, teachers may acquire a better understanding with the complexities of elements of good and effective instructional materials. In evaluating the materials, teachers observe what works and what does not work, and they add their own style and preference and interpretation to the materials. If it is aligned to the subject matter, the book will then be used. Lastly, synthesizing and familiarize teacher trainees with a range of published materials. The teacher who evaluates the materials and how they evaluate them must therefore reflect the specific context, experience, wants, and needs to evaluate the effectivity of the materials such as books. Because when we evaluate, we will encounter different books that will help us as a teacher. Well-designed and published textbooks are materials that can support teachers a lot because they act as a training materials. Teachers will be able to read and review so that they can analyze the instructional materials that are available in the school. We evaluate existing materials with a view to choosing suitable materials for language program. So that would be all for my topic. Thank you for listening. God bless us all. Keep safe, everyone.